Hi, it's Steve. Today we're going to show you how to change the temperature sensor on your range, and it's a really easy job. All we're going to need is a 1/4-inch nut driver and maybe a pair of wire strippers and crimpers. Let me show you how we do it. Now before we begin this job, the first thing we're going to need to do is to disconnect power, and we'll also need to pull the range far enough forward that we can access the back. So either turn the power off at the breaker or fuse panel or unplug it and then pull the range forward so that we can get to the back. Now to change that temperature sensor, we will need to remove this lower back panel. So there are 3 screws on either side and 1 in the top center. We'll need to remove all of those. Now once we've removed all of those screws, we'll next take out the one that secures the upper back panel to the lower back panel. We can then just carefully lift up the bottom of that lower panel and lift it away from a couple of tabs that protrude from the back of the oven. And we'll set that panel aside. Then locate the temp sensor on the right hand side facing from the rear, and it is held in place with a 1/4-inch screw. Now with the screw removed, we can then rotate that sensor body a little bit counterclockwise to release the tab on the right side, and then we can pull it straight out. So we'll just peel back that protective insulation on the old sensor, and then we'll cut those wires long enough to be able to splice them, and we'll discard the old temp sensor. Just peel back a little of the insulation on the ends of those wires. We'll just twist those so that we get a nice tight end on them. We'll take a butt splice connector or an inline connector. Fully insert that into the connector. Crimp it nice and tight. We'll do the same with the second wire. Then we'll do the same to the new temp sensor. We'll just peel that back. And this time we'll cut a little closer to the actual connector. Separate the 2 wires. And again, just strip back some of that insulation. Now once we've got the butt splice connectors attached to the wire harness connector, and we've stripped back the wire on the sensor itself, we'll just insert 1 each of those into that butt splice connector. And crimp that. And we'll do the same for the second one. And make sure the connections are tight. And then we can go ahead and install the new temp sensor. So we're just going to carefully insert the new temp sensor, keeping it nice and straight so that we can line up the opening in the oven liner. Once we've got it fully inserted, we'll just rotate that base clockwise so that the screw hole lines up. We'll put that retaining screw in. Make sure that we don't pinch that wire. Tighten that. And then connect to the existing harness. And then we can put the back panel on. Now when installing the back panel, you'll note that there are two little tabs across the bottom here on the main portion of the range. And we need to make sure that this lip on the bottom of the back panel will engage both of those. So we'll start by tucking the top of it in behind the upper panel, pull it into position, and then lift up on the bottom on both sides of the cord and make sure that those dropped into those two slots. And then we can go ahead and put the screws in. Start by installing the one in the top center that attaches the two back panels together. And before we tighten anything, we'll make sure that all the screws will line up. Now with all the screws installed and tightened, we can next push the range back into position and reconnect the power. We're now ready to reconnect the power, and our repair is complete.